I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is a very special episode of Alter Ego Comics TV, our top comic books of 2012. And there were lots of criteria involved in us choosing these, mainly sitting down 30 minutes ago and putting this list together. Actually, really, we're looking at a variety of reasons why these books are the top. They may be great sellers. They may have had a tremendous impact on the comic book industry this year. They may have long-lasting effects, and we may just really like all of them. So we'll start things off with Batman, and this is from DC Comics, written by Scott Snyder, artwork by Greg Capullo, and ever since the New 52 launched back in September of 2011, Batman has been fantastic. It's been great from the get-go. It's DC's highest-selling book right now. It used to be Justice League, but Batman has dethroned Justice League. And what's not to love? We talk about this book every time a new issue comes out. It's obvious that we think it's awesome. What do you have to say?
It's awesome. Snyder has a great feel for doing a reboot book that doesn't feel like a reboot. Batman continuity saw the least change out of any of the New 52 stuff for the most part, with the possible exception of Green Lantern. But Snyder's book feels like it's like you're having a conversation with somebody who's been reading Batman forever. You know, he has all this respect for all these characters and stories that happened decades ago in some cases, and he's not afraid to bring it out and use it, and just to make Batman awesome again. And it's just unparalleled.
Well, we've had the introduction of a new villain in the Court of the Owls, followed by the return of the Joker. Snyder's batting 1,000 on this, and congratulations to him. I will read anything that he writes at this point. I think most people that are reading Batman will take a chance, and we've seen that to some degree, where they've read some other things by Snyder. But Batman, I think he was helped, or the book was helped by having a new movie this year, by the public's interest in the character of Batman. I think Batman may have replaced Spider-Man and might be the most popular character in comics, for not just for comic readers, but for the general public. So that's why Batman makes our list.
Next up, and then these are in no particular order. We don't have the fine-tooth comb necessary to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Also, we can't count that high. But
we can, just not in order.
Yes, the next bullet point on this list of 10 is Saga. Saga. Brian K. Vaughan brings us fantasy, space opera, Romeo and Juliet. It's funny, it's poignant, it's wickedly beautiful art by Fiona Staples, and it's just so good. Every issue of Saga has been enjoyable. I've never read an issue of Saga and been let down. So 7 issues, they're doing an awesome job. Best book of the year, in my opinion.
It's on schedule. There was a planned 2-month break with Saga, where they stopped after issue 6, which was the end of the first story arc. We had 2 months off, and then issue 7 came out. And again, Brian K. Vaughan writing every issue, Fiona Staples drawing every issue, and really Staples is bringing something totally new to the world of comic book art. This is just a beautiful book, and everyone that picks it up really does not put it back down again. If we can get you past some of the adult content in Saga, but it is. I mean, it's an adult it's an adult comic. It's the equivalent of going to see a rated R movie, not an X movie, an R movie. Well, I don't know. But it is just, it's so unique. It's the most unique comic book being published today. And we would agree, it's the best comic book being published today.
Absolutely.
So if we did put a number 1 in front of one of these, it would be Saga. Next up, we have Manhattan Projects. And this is just another fun book that launched around the same time that Saga did, a little before. And has helped Image gain some incredible market share this year. It's a comic that is accessible to non-comic readers as well as longtime comic fans. Basically, it's the story of the Manhattan Project in the 1940s, 1930s and 40s, but instead of developing the atomic bomb, this group of scientists are working on paranormal and extra-dimensional weapons and portals and other fun stuff. So you've got familiar characters like Albert Einstein and Robert Oppenheimer. You've got FDR and Harry Truman. You've got in just crazy portrayals of those presidents. And it's fun. It's another book that each issue is better than the one before. We have not been let down by Manhattan Projects. It's great for people that like the TV show Fringe and like alternate history. So you can give it to people that like history, that like science fiction, that like awesomeness. Just another feather in Image's cap this year. Manhattan Projects. We love it.
Something else we love, in some cases inexplicably, Wolverine and the X-Men. Coming out of the schism where Wolverine decided to take his ball and go to Westchester and start his own school rather than deal with Cyclops. Written by Jason Aaron with by a rotating team of artists that are generally very solid. It's so much fun. This is the X-Men I was reading when I was a kid. This is the X-Men you used to track down in nickel bins. You know, your classic Claremont, just fun X-Men. It's got a cast that's really unparalleled across the X-books as far as being able to draw in characters from different eras and different backgrounds. And there aren't words. It's just, it feels like the X-Men, and that's a rare thing, even considering X-Men comics take up an entire shelf on the whole width of the Marvel section.
Well, it's great because they're operating as schools. So, you know, we got to see New Mutants thrown into the comic books in the past in the comic book New Mutants, or when Xavier was actually running a school. Well, now you've got Wolverine running a school. So you've got these new characters that are introduced. You've got characters that have gained traction with readers, characters like Brew, like Quentin Quire, like Idie. There are all these characters that didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago, and they play an important part in the X-Men's world right now. So I've said this many times. If I could only pick one X-Men book to read in 2012, and this isn't really fair because All New X-Men started a few weeks ago. But prior to the launch of Marvel Now, if I could only pick one X-Men book to read, it would be Wolverine and the X-Men, hands down. Before Watchmen, and we're taking all of the Before Watchmen books and lumping them together under one bullet point. And the reason this makes the list, first and foremost, is that the books are great. They have varying levels of greatness, but there was so much opposition to the Before Watchmen comics prior to them being published. People were poo-pooing them before they even had them in their hands and could see what the content was and read the stories. And the majority of them, if not all of them, are fleshing out the characters from Watchmen that really didn't get the attention that they deserve in a 12-issue miniseries and in a 2+ hour movie. So we're getting to see the backstory of Silk Spectre. We're getting to see young Hollis Mason. We're getting to see a bunch of story, a younger comedian. And not all of them are fun. I mean, the Watchmen books are dark in their overtones, but you cannot deny that these books have accomplished what they set out to do, and that DC accomplished what they set out to do by attracting A-list writers and artists and expanding on the Watchmen universe. And every time a new issue comes out, in fact, if there's a period where we go without an issue for a week or two, we get people asking, when's the new issue coming out? So people are looking forward to these Before Watchmen books more so than I think anybody really anticipated. And in hindsight, DC did a good thing with this. They're producing quality comics, and the bottom line with comics these days is it's about the story. If the story is good, then go for it. If you're renumbering to tell a good story, great. If you're creating a new universe if you're expanding on an older universe like with Watchmen and it's a series of good stories, then great. If you're doing it as a blatant money grab and the stories are horrible, then you stink. But as long as the stories are good, great. And that's what we get with Before Watchmen.
Next up, one of the books we talk about every month as it comes out, or 2 times a month, or 3 times a month, since Marvel likes to just ram them out the door sometimes. But Amazing Spider-Man, written pretty much single-handedly by Dan Slott for the last 50-some issues with a rotating team of artists. What can we say about Amazing Spider-Man we haven't said? He's had an amazing year for Peter Parker. We started off with the end of the Spider Island stuff, leading through into the Return of the Lizard and the No More Dying and Ends of the Earth. The Ends of the Earth storyline is just continually taking Peter Parker to new places, which is really interesting for a character that's been around for 40-some years.
And it's tough to do.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't even say it's interesting, but how do you inject life into these characters that have been around for... this is Spider-Man's 50th anniversary this year. Yeah. We've seen lots of Peter Parker stories. And what we're getting this year with Amazing Spider-Man, and really ever since Dan Slott took control of this book, is you've got a diehard Spider-Man fan writing Spider-Man, and writing a Spider-Man that someone in their, whether they're a teenager in their 20s, 30s, 40s, or older, can read and enjoy. And that's been a tough thing to do at Marvel over the years. So That's why. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man has just been a consistently quality. Is that even right? A consistently good book in 2012 and prior to that. But since we didn't do a list last year, we're putting it on this year's list. Next up is Chew, and admittedly, I will tell you that neither Josh nor I read this on a monthly basis, but we read it in collected edition. And part of that is that we got to the party late. And I don't think we stocked the first few issues of Chew for one reason or another. But since then, we've read the collected editions. We've been promoting them actively to our customer base that are looking for something new and different. And you don't get much more new and different than Chew.
Absolutely. Chew is just a fun book. This is one of the few ongoing, long-running series. Well, maybe not long-running yet, 5 volumes.
30 issues.
It's a while.
Yeah.
One of the few series that every volume I pick up, there are moments when I laugh out loud. I'm not a big fan of doing random one-shots for no reason, but I absolutely love the Poyo one-shot, which is a book about a fighting chicken who's badass. And there's no other book that can do the kind of things Chew can do. Their San Diego variant with the glow-in-the-dark variant, that would have seemed cheesy and kind of 90s-esque, but it fits the tone and the feel of Chew as a book that doesn't take itself too seriously. And while it's telling an emotional and a dramatic story, it's not afraid to go for dumb laughs, to do, gross things and just be fun. It's a great palate cleanser. It's not too heavy, it's not too light, it's just a good middle ground book that pleases every time I read it.
Green Lantern makes our list, and this is from Jeff Johns and a couple of different artists. But the thing that is making Green Lantern great is the same thing that makes Batman great. With the launch of the New 52, they took the Green Lantern universe and basically just picked it up and moved it over to the New 52. Very little changed. But it was still accessible to new readers. That first issue of Green Lantern, post New 52, was still accessible to new readers and enjoyable by longtime readers too. We've seen the development of the character of Hal Jordan. We've seen the characters are developing. They're not just static and standing still. Sinestro has gone through a lot of changes, really, over the last year or two, and even beyond that. You've got consistent writing by Jeff Johns. You got great artwork by Doug Mahnke and other folks, and it's fitting that the character of Green Lantern has risen up the ranks and improved in popularity despite a movie that could have derailed many things, quite possibly derailed Ryan Reynolds' career. I don't know, but the book itself it's great. It's intergalactic police, and it's got science fiction, it's got action, it's got intrigue, it's got the Rainbow Coalition of Lanterns, and it is consistently good month in, month out.
And what Green Lantern also has going for it is, and in some ways what Batman also has going for it, is the family of books. The other Green Lantern books are not consistently as good in sales as the core Green Lantern title, and they may vary a little bit in quality depending on your taste, but they're cohesive, they have a good universe to fall back on. If I read a story and a villain shows up, I can kind of pop over to another book and say, and check it out. It creates a shared universe in a way that a lot of the one-off titles just don't have the background to do. And next up on our list, one of the one-off titles that sort of exists way off on its own, Wonder Woman. Brian Azzarello, with rotating artist team, starting off with Cliff Chiang, has taken Wonder Woman not forward, maybe backward, to a Greek mythology kind of point of view that is just so amazingly awesome. If you have any connection at all to the classic mythology, classic literature, this very much evokes that feel, and it manages to bring it up and also make it feel modern. A lot of fans of the God of War games that kind of plays with the Greek pantheon would recognize some similarities here, and the way that Wonder Woman, who is now apparently daughter of Zeus, is interacting with all these cool characters, kind of reinterpretations of gods that have been around for thousands of years. And they're also managing to take these larger-than-life pantheons and these people of immense power and make them human, their frailties, their foibles, their vulnerabilities, and make it all awesome and still feel like the Wonder Woman in the other books in Justice League and whatnot is the same character. And it's just, I don't even know how he does it. It's a weird trick to pull off, but I'm loving the book.
And finally, rounding out our top 10 list is Thief of Thieves. This is another Image Comics publication. It's under the banner of Robert Kirkman's Skybound imprint, and actually plotted by Robert Kirkman with writing chores by a number of different writers. The first arc was Nick Spencer of Morning Glories fame. And the characters in this, basically reading Thief of Thieves is like watching a good TV show. Mm-hmm. It's like watching Leverage on TNT or whatever channel that's on. But it's so... I don't want to say it's 180 degrees from Kirkman's work on The Walking Dead, but it really isn't, because The Walking Dead is about the characters. It's not about horror. It's not about the zombies. It's about the humans and the situations that they're put in. Thief of Thieves is also about that. You've got a character who's basically in a situation that he feels trapped in. He's the best thief in the world, but he decides he wants to get out of being the best thief in the world, and that's not as easy as he wants it to be. We've got a great supporting cast, a very strong lead character, and there's enough interest in this, and maybe AMC bit the bullet on this because of Kirkman's success with The Walking Dead, but it has been optioned as a TV show on AMC, and we may see it within the next 2 years or so, right alongside Walking Dead, which is crazy to think that, and especially a series like Thief of Thieves, which is only on issue 11 or 12, or 13 or 14, I don't remember. It's definitely double digits, but it's low double digits. Is picked up as a TV series for development. So it's great to see, again, people associate comics with tights and capes, and it's all about superheroes. This is a very street-level, real-world comic book series that anybody can enjoy. So that's our list. Some of your favorites may not have been on our list. We apologize for that. We may not read everything that you read. For example, neither one of us reads The Walking Dead, surprisingly, which is why it's not on our list. We don't want to talk about books and lie to you and say, these are our top 10 books, when we really don't read them. These are books that we read, books that we enjoy month in, month out, and books that deserve to be named the top comic books of 2012. Thanks for watching.